Be sure to check out Rob Plays. There you can hang out with me while we play video games and talk about life stuff. So what I want to do here is have a discussion about Batman Rebirth. And what I'm hoping is that at the end of all this, you'll have a good idea of where the series stands and how it expects to shape up going into the future of DC Comics. So much like Green Arrow and the rest of the Rebirth releases, Batman draws on a combination of pulling the past and the present together. However, the difficulty of this concept comes in the idea that DC has never been straightforward about Bruce's past events in relation to the New 52. What I mean here is that where the rest of DC's lineup largely received clean-cut reboots, Batman's past continuity was left ambiguous with occasional references here and there, including Batman Eternal, which saw the return of Thomas Elliot, who referenced the pre-Flashpoint story Hush, while Barbara Gordon discussed her recovery after being shot during the pre-Flashpoint story Killing Joke. To this end, while this did offer the potential to maintain the canonicity of some of Batman's most iconic stories, including Nightfall, on the whole, the reader was left in a quagmire, being expected to believe that everything from Crisis on Infinite Earths to Flashpoint all happened in a 5-year window, while not actually being told whether it did. Now, where much of the confusion fell to the wayside in the face of Scott Snyder's run with the introduction of the Court of Owls and the return of the Joker during Death of the Family and Endgame as part of Snyder's multi-part epic, the fact remains that even if fans weren't beating down the doors of DC for answers, at the very least, some measure of cohesiveness was expected to be forthcoming, if for no other reason than to add depth to Bruce Wayne's life experiences. While fans looked to the idea of Rebirth as a way for DC to provide the answers they were looking for, instead, readers walked away empty-handed, being left with a multitude of unanswered questions and a bit of confusion. Written by Tom King and Scott Snyder, one of the biggest drawbacks of the issue is that we don't actually know whose hand is in the cookie jar. While the book feels almost exactly like something Snyder would write, Tom King's name is still listed as co-writer, leaving us to ask whether or not the book is an actual representation of what to expect going forward into the series. But initially opening up with Alfred in the midst of tending the garden, Wayne Manor is visited by the arrival of Duke Thomas in response to a previously extended offer. To sidetrack for a second, Duke Thomas was one of several heroes introduced as part of the We Are Robin line of comics under the banner of DCU. Written by Lee Bermeo and drawn by Rob Haynes and Kerry Randolph, while it only spanned 12 issues, the story focused on Duke Thomas along with a handful of other teenagers, all of whom adopted the mantle of Robin and operated as vigilantes after being inspired by various members of the Bat family. Receiving fairly high reviews but experiencing mediocre sales, like many of DC's titles, We Are Robin was cancelled between the announcement of DC Rebirth and the lead up to its launch at the beginning of June. However, focusing on the story, the events contained within center on a kind of tour of Bruce Wayne's life as it progresses throughout the length of a week. Meeting with Lucius Fox on a Tuesday, the conversation between the two is not of stupendous importance. Instead, it follows a standard method of Snyder's storytelling, providing a bit of mortar between the bricks of Batman's events, giving us some insight into his own personal life. To this end, with Lucius Fox recounting a conversation with Bruce's father on why Thomas Wayne became a doctor, where Lucius found it a bit foolhardy and the definition of insanity by helping the sick while knowing they would only get sick again, the rhetorical question is designed to highlight the necessity of Bruce Wayne being Batman, and that while the criminals he catches always escape, creating an endless cat-and-mouse game, the cycle exists because it needs to, if for no other reason than to keep criminals from achieving their goal and Gotham falling into disarray. Following this, the story transitions to Wednesday, with Bruce Wayne revealing to Duke that Gotham has been met with the return of Calendar Man, a being whose life changes with the seasons, meaning he dies in the winter, is reborn in the spring, and ages through the summer and fall, with the cycle repeating itself. Now, where this is really just background stuff with Snyder and King giving us something to read while we make our way through the comic, the overall theme here is that Duke continues to stay along for the ride. Bringing him to the Batcave, the purpose behind Duke's presence is revealed, with Batman providing a home for him in the wake of his parents' insanity. To sidetrack here, during the events of Batman Endgame and Joker's attack on Gotham, with the Joker intending to reenact the death of Bruce Wayne's parents by using the parents of Duke, the toxin he had used had permeated their minds, pushing them into insanity without an immediate cure. Where Bruce was able to rescue Duke and escape, Duke's parents were left behind, leaving Duke himself as an orphan. Using this as a jumping-off platform, while neither King nor Snyder offer a direct answer, the implication seems to be that Duke is being offered a position alongside Batman that is akin to the Robin mantle, but remains ambiguous. With Duke appearing receptive to the idea, this revelation is really the only standout part of the story. In truth, things essentially fall back into rank and file, with Batman coming to the realization that Calendar Man had planted spores around Gotham, which if released, will kill everyone in the city. Now, as far as I'm aware, there's no real explanation available about these spores, and it seems to be designed that way. What I mean here is that because this Rebirth issue appears to be written in the form of A Week in the Life of Bruce Wayne, it plays on the notion of every comic being an end of Gotham scenario, and the idea that Batman is the only one who can save the day. While the story does see Batman succeeding and destroying Calendar Man's machines, as well as depicting his rebirth in the form of shedding his old body and emerging as a younger person, the events shift their focus to a conversation between Batman and Duke, with Bruce revealing that where Duke is concerned about Calendar Man returning and constantly thinking up new ideas, their roles as heroes is to meet the challenge and come back themselves equally more intelligent and capable. And so with the story wrapping itself up, this seems to reveal the shortcoming of the issue. Nothing really happens. The comic makes no reference to Snider's Batman aside from Duke's parents during the events of Endgame. It makes no reference to the supposed death of Bruce Wayne after Endgame and Commissioner Gordon taking on the mantle of Batman, and as far as I can tell, the entire issue treats the events of DCU as if they never happened, picking up almost immediately after the Joker's perceived death at the conclusion of Endgame, with Bruce Wayne taking Duke on as a ward. With that being said, we're going to bring this video to an end, and let me know what you guys thought about Batman Rebirth if you read it. Maybe I'm just perceiving it the wrong way. But with that being said, I will catch you guys later. Peace.